Right now, it's time for a browse through the morning's French newspaper headlines with Diptyque Laurent. Good morning to you, Dipty.
Hi, Kat.
And let's start off not in France, but actually in the United States. That news we've been reporting in our main news bulletin, that the Electoral College is due to officially vote on Donald Trump's presidency today.
Well, they're preparing to officially designate Trump as the next U.S. president. The billionaire, the left-leaning daily Libération calls it a formality, unless, à moins que, that's the word on the front page there, unless the improbable happens and those voices of dissent that we've been hearing refuse Trump's appointment. But let's face it, it seems pretty unlikely, Kat. Still, Libération says it's a last chance to dump Trump. The paper evokes the familiar debate that we've been hearing since the U.S. election around reforming the U.S. electoral system, a system that got Trump appointed as president. Yet his rival Hillary Clinton came in with more than 2 million votes more than him. And the last time that happened was also in favor of the Republicans in 2000, when Al Gore received more votes but lost the nomination to George Bush Jr.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of public anger about that ever since the election, haven't we? And with those protests at the weekend. The Catholic paper La Croix is expecting that the Electoral College is going to do its duty, so to speak, and endorse Trump. They're focusing on the people who'll be making up his cabinet once he is in office.
Well, Trump has obviously, as we know, been carefully crafting his cabinet, and it's causing some sort of concern, some controversy now among political pundits. An irregular group, La Croix says, of, I quote, religious warriors, traditionalists and nationalist populists, a cabinet with a lack of visibility, La Croix says, which is actually a bad thing for a country like France, whose decision-making autonomy could be threatened with the new Trump administration. And La Croix actually says this means ultimately France will have to look in terms of political power towards its neighbors, its European neighbors, and in particular Germany. We kind of get the impression from this article that La Croix is saying, well, the years of closeness between the US and Europe that we enjoyed under Barack Obama may be coming to an end.
All right, another international story that's grabbing French imaginations today is from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And Dipty, it's a country that, according to La Croix, once again, this country's standing pretty much on the edge of an uncertain future from here on in. It's the very last day today of the president's current term in office, and nobody's quite sure what's going to happen next.
La grande inquiétude, that's what La Croix says, the great worry, the great concern. President Joseph Kabila's term, as you said, ends today, but he's refusing to call elections to choose a successor. He's been in power since 2001, and essentially he's refusing to step down, a situation that La Croix says could provoke a period of political turbulence and tension in the country. We kind of get the impression the country's standing on the precipice of a great political movement. Kabila is essentially violating the terms of the constitution, which will not allow him to run for another term. A diplomat quoted in La Croix fears there'll be clashes between the government and opposition forces. It's important to note that 90% of DRC nationals live below the line of poverty, and yet the country is home to a vast array of natural resources. And in fact, this has been the object of a recent scandal involving Kabila's family, revelations that his family control more than 120 permits that are needed for extracting gold, copper, diamonds, and other resources.
And Libération seems to think that Kabila is pretty much biding his sweet time.
Well, that's right. He's trying to buy time on the streets. While he's trying to buy time on the streets, the movement against him is intensifying. It's building up. Libé calls this Monday an historical date, one for the books. Everyone knows that in Kinshasa, the capital, while the presidential guards are patrolling, from today onwards, protesters supported by the opposition are coming out from the suburbs, heading to the city center, and the codename of their operation is Bye Bye Kabila.
Pretty clear from that name what they want then. Let's stay in Africa for your next story. Another French paper focusing on a crisis in a country that is somewhat underreported, can we say, in the world press.
Definitely. It's a story that is underreported. South Sudan. It's the world's youngest country. It's about 5 years old. It gained its independence back in 2011. Yet since then, its short history has been marked by nothing but political turmoil and civil war, and especially ethnic war. For L'Humanité, the communist paper, the shadow of the Rwandan genocide is hanging over South Sudan. For instance, 3 million people have been displaced. 5 million people are suffering from malnutrition or starvation. 100,000 people have been killed. They've been caught up in this political turmoil that L'Humanité says resembles the sort of genocide in Rwanda. That political turmoil is between South Sudan's leader, Salva Kiir, who's from the Dinka tribe, and his former vice president, who's actually the leader of the opposition, Riek Machar, who's from the Nuer tribe. Although L'Humanité does say at the heart of this ethnic conflict could be the country's oil resources.
Such a striking photo on the front of Humanité today. Let's end on something much more seasonal, much lighter note from Le Parisien. It's publishing its guide not on where to buy your Christmas gifts, but where to hide them.
Prepare your stash, cat. That's what Le Parisien says on its front on this article here. It's more of a helpful guide.
With a map.
With a map. If you're the organized type who already has your gifts prepared, packed, ready, and designated for a person, and you're looking to hide them from your curious loved ones, here's a map. For some ideas, you can hide them in a sleeping bag, in the cellar, behind bookshelves, at the bottom of your laundry basket, covered by a dirty bed sheet.
Ooh, not too dirty.
Not too dirty. In suitcases, in the attic. No-go zones, on the other hand, would be under the bed or in the drawers of cupboard, which I assume seem too obvious. But let's face it, Kat, if you live in Paris or any other metropolitan city, this you might have to get a little bit more creative than this. We all are, of course, small apartment dwellers.
Indeed. I mean, I don't really understand this story at all. Doesn't Father Christmas bring the presents on the 24th of December? So he's hiding them surely at the North Pole. Thanks so much, Dipti, who'll be back later on looking through the international press for us as well. Right now, we're going to take a short break. We'll see you in a couple of minutes' time.